Please like and subscribe.
The following commentary on Disney's version of Daredevil will return you to the 20-teens, a decade that encompassed the apex of progressivism and the nadir of storytelling and entertainment. So if my take seems hackneyed, if it conjures bad memories of bad productions, please bear in mind, Daredevil Born Again appeared to be a holdover from the preceding era. It began its journey to failure around 2017, when Kevin Feige, at the height of his influence, coveted the success of Netflix's Daredevil and The Defenders. In Born Again, I observed all the self-indulgent tropes from the decade of delusion: deconstruction, subversion, injustice, hollow representation, virtue signaling, toxic femininity, fanbait,
human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together.
A comprehensive demonstration of the 20-teens' worst proclivities. In Disney fashion, while filming, Born Again was overhauled. Producers, writers, and directors were fired, and the creative vision was changed. As a result, the House of Mouse released another Frankenstein's monster with a multiple personality disorder. Dear viewers, I present my perspective on Daredevil Born Again. Welcome to Galactic Initiative. I'm your host, Jeff. Daredevil Born Again. I postponed my commentary until the last episode was behind me, and looking back, 2 months of streaming felt like 2 years of water torture. Daredevil under Disney's control in the hands of Kevin Feige frightened me. Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk were excellent in the Netflix series. Their acting boosted all 3 seasons. If you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend Season 1. It is 10 years old, but it remains an influential live-action superhero series. Daredevil was played for a fool in She-Hulk, and the Kingpin was played for a fool in Hawkeye and Echo. So I expected Disney to complete the pair's destruction in Born Again. The mouse loves to deconstruct popular male characters in service of
the message.
Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Loki. Do you notice a theme? At times, Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio recaptured the magic in spite of Disney's agenda. Their reunion as Murdock and Fisk was outstanding.
You're keeping tabs on me.
No, I'm not. I'm just... call it professional curiosity.
What profession would that be?
I'm a lawyer.
By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
I could say the same about you. You're a real man of the people now.
A rich man, by his very nature, is self-serving. A mayor serves his city.
Huh.
You don't seem entirely convinced.
Can you blame me? Considering you've tried to kill me a few times over the years.
As you have.
No. Incarcerate, maybe. Kill? Never.
One can appreciate their performances without knowledge of the comics and the Netflix series. If they wanted critical and commercial success, the creators would have simplified the plot and showcased these actors. Daredevil and the Kingpin have a long history. I can suggest 5 popular storylines for live-action seasons with only a moment's notice. However, the creators didn't care about critical and commercial success. In the comics, Murdock was an expert defense attorney. In Born Again, he was an expert sad sack. The writers used a season-long identity crisis to subvert him. He was ineffective as a lawyer, he was emotionally constipated as a lover, he was impotent as a crime fighter, and he was indecisive as a man. What was my favorite scene? Maybe the lecture on morality from a teenage girl.
Mr. Murdock, attorney at law, big fancy office, here to help the little guy, right? Only on your terms.
Or the lecture on justice from a career criminal.
You just don't get it, do you? This shit never ends. Look, I've been jerked around by the system my whole life.
Oh, or maybe the lecture on professionalism from a less experienced attorney.
Oh, and the defense. What is going on?
Call it an attack of conscience.
Should I not have told you about that? You're late to meetings. You're insulting our client. Jesus, man, I barely recognize you. What is going on?
So many lectures to choose from. In the comics, Fisk was an unabashed criminal mastermind. In Born Again, he was an unabashed doormat. He was irresolute as a politician, he was submissive as a partner, and he was invisible as an antagonist. Frank Castle, aka The Punisher, appeared long enough to denounce his fanboys and his miserable life. Many progressives associate The Punisher with toxic masculinity, so the creators trashed him for gaslighting and virtue signaling purposes. I'm certain they don't understand the affinity of dedicated soldiers and law enforcement officers for The Punisher. Jon Bernthal delivered a good performance despite Disney's attempt to repudiate his vigilantism through a Jake Skywalker approach. The guy has charisma.
Nothing in this world a good cup of coffee can't fix. You want a cup?
I'll take a minute to summarize the classic comic series, so you'll understand the stark differences. Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller told a story of betrayal and redemption. Karen Page became a junkie and sold Daredevil's secret identity for a fix. Wilson Fisk used the information to wreck Matt Murdock's life. At his lowest point, Murdock was disbarred, broke, and homeless. He suspected the Kingpin, and he attempted an investigation, but the crime lord murdered all those with knowledge of the scheme, except Page, who eventually confessed to the betrayal. A nun rescued Murdock from the streets of Hell's Kitchen and nursed him back to full strength. He changed his ways, forgave Page, and exposed the Kingpin. Page beat her addiction thanks to Murdock. Along the path to redemption, Captain America apprehended a villain named Nuke. No Frank Castle, no Vanessa Fisk, no White Tiger, no girl bosses, no crisis of identity for Fisk or Murdock. Only one corrupt officer whose finances were leveraged against him. The preceding details were familiar if you watched Netflix Daredevil. It incorporated a significant portion of Miller's story. In this respect, and only this respect, I extend grace to the writers. Personally, I would have avoided Miller's work, since it couldn't be equaled or fully engineered. Season 1 should have been straightforward. Allow the actors to reprise their iconic roles. Born Again was too complex to break a 7-year hiatus. Furthermore, the creators ruined the bits left for them with their progressive agenda.
Can we blame the commissioner? And after all, he's just a cog in a broken machine.
Corrupt police and courts oppressed certain groups because reasons. Residents couldn't trust the mayor, law enforcement officers, or the justice system. The old systemic such and such. Daredevil's self-pity party allowed Vanessa to expand her organized crime ring around the city. For a time, the Kingpin attempted urban renewal, but the evil bureaucracy eventually caused him to lose patience. In moderation, a corrupt city government can serve as an antagonist. However, in this series, it was heavy-handed messaging. Regardless of Daredevil, the system perpetuated inequity according to exposition dumps from several characters. Despite living in Hell's Kitchen, Murdock's privilege evidently insulated him. But thanks to sob stories from the oppressed, his eyes were opened. Such lazy, cringy writing.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
I noticed simple sets and obscured action, which I attributed to financial constraints. Based on health restrictions, strikes, and a string of expensive failures, the Mouse has reevaluated its budgets. I learned episodes were trimmed and plotlines shifted. It certainly wasn't as polished as its Netflix predecessor. The supporting cast completely changed in the opening 20 minutes. The replacement of originals with newcomers and the immediate death of a main character caused problems. Past subplots with Foggy Nelson and Karen Page weren't always engaging, but their immediate removal was jarring. Kirsten McDuffie had history with Matt in other books. If you never read the comics, their sudden partnership made no sense. The screen displayed 1 year later, and voila, they were loyal colleagues. Just accept it, don't ask questions. Do you recognize Dr. Heather Glenn? Let me help you. Thanks, Leslie Headland, for hiding this beautiful woman. Again, Dr. Glenn, a character from the comics, isn't familiar to most viewers. At least she had a proper start-from-scratch introduction, though she's not the same persona as before. By the end of episode 2, she was embroiled in a secondary storyline with Fisk and his wife. Yes, Vanessa returned. The conclusion of Echo apparently caused marital strife. Fisk's recovery from a gunshot to the face distanced him from Vanessa, who organized and optimized New York's underworld in his absence. And she cheated on him. But he forgave her. A storytelling device like a flashback or a montage was out of the question, I suppose. So other characters continuously informed the audience of Vanessa's greatness. She was better than the Kingpin in every way. The writers poorly adapted Vanessa's arc from the comics, poorly on purpose to amplify. When did criminality become a feminist power fantasy? Once Echo's girl power humbled him, the Kingpin abandoned his life of crime. I disliked Echo, and Born Again's opening validated its existence, regrettably. The married couple went to counseling. Yes, I said counseling. Fisk became mayor and Vanessa became crime lord. How would they ever repair their broken relationship? Better question, why should I care? The series celebrated emotionalism. I have patience for exposition and interpersonal conflicts, but the creators replaced street fights with couples therapy. The villain, Muse, was a disaffected trust fund baby who used human blood for graffiti around the city. Dr. Glenn killed him after Daredevil proved unable to subdue him. Taekwondo lessons during adolescence were enough to fight the blind superhero to a draw. No joke. The plot didn't allow Daredevil to capture Muse. The writers sidelined Bullseye and White Tiger after they fundamentally altered the characters from all the source material. In short, Disney and Kevin Feige executed another bait and switch. They used the Daredevil name, but they tossed all the great qualities of the comics and the Netflix series. By the grace of strong women, Murdoch and Fisk survived. Who needs actions when you have feelings? Who needs alphas when you have betas? I recommend you avoid Daredevil Born Again. It's a waste of time. Watch the Netflix series instead. Cox, D'Onofrio, and Bernthal will not disappoint you in those episodes. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.
I need your help, son.
Check out Galactic Initiative for honest takes on Star Wars and other IP, including Daredevil.
Galactic Initiative is not authorized or endorsed by Lucasfilm Limited. The name Star Wars and all related materials are registered trademarks of Lucasfilm Limited, a subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, by rights reserved. Galactic Initiative is a registered trademark, and other product and company names are trademarks of their respective holders. Use does not imply affiliation or endorsement.